Hey everybody, before we get into today's show, obviously I wanted to share with you what we have going on over at Equalife. I think you're going to enjoy it. If you've been dealing with any bloating or gas or constipation, loose stool, any digestive-based symptoms, what we're offering right now is your ability to take 20% off any of these healing gut-based protocols and products. So maybe you've had your eye on the CBO protocol and you're looking to improve your overall candida or bacterial balance. That is the protocol for you, used tens of thousands of times with people all over the world and used by thousands of practitioners as well inside of their practice. Or you might be looking at the daily probiotic support for everyday use, or the clean gut probiotic if you've dealt with some antibiotics over the last few months, or your gut hasn't just been feeling the same as it's used to. Or you might want to look at the healthy gut support, which is to help with inflammation, healthy levels of inflammation, and healing and sealing that gut wall. All those four and many more you can check out right now and save 20% by going on over to stevencabral.com/shop. Check it out for all the details while supplies last. Now, let's head on over to the show.
Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, Dr. Steven Cabral, shares with you exactly how you can reverse aging, take back your health, and live a life full of energy and passion, with new 20-minute episodes every single day to keep you healthy and engaged. Now, here's your host, Dr. Steven Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you here today. We're going to be going over on this episode what to eat when recovering from a cold, flu, or virus. So basically you're starting to come down with a cold or flu or virus. We'll just use them interchangeably here today. What to eat while you may have it, and then also, of course, as you're recovering. So as I always have to say, as we're talking about colds, viruses, etc., I can't provide you with any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis, but what I want to share with you are time-tested, natural health-based remedies, as well as scientifically published work on what is best to eat, how to recover the fastest possible. We won't be going over any nutritional supplements today. I can share with you a supplement page, but we're just going to be going over the food itself, which I think is plenty for the most part, at least to get started with. So no matter who you are, it's actually not uncommon. It's not abnormal, even if you're a healthy person, to get sick a few times a year. It's not. It's just a sign that your immune system has encountered more of a novel virus that you hadn't seen before, or it's been a while. And what happens is your body's mounting a defense mechanism against it. So every time you get a congested nose or a runny nose, it's not necessarily something to be stopped. What it's happening is your body's producing more mucus in order to be able to use those white blood cells, kill the different pathogens, and remove it from your body. Same with a fever. A fever isn't something necessarily to be palliated unless it gets too high, because a fever is helping to destroy and stop viral-based replication and move the white blood cells through your body that much faster. So this is nature's way, our inbound and inborn way of being able to fight off colds and viruses. Now, there's of course always a time and place. Some people might reach for conventional medicine-based remedies, and other people natural health. So whatever works for you, fantastic. But let's go over though what you may want to be eating. So there's a lot of different adages out there as to, feeding a cold but starving a fever is one of the ones out there. But here's what you want to think about. Is your body telling you to eat yes or no? Meaning, are you hungry? If you're not hungry, you may want to do a bit of an intermittent fast. So if I ever feel myself coming down and feeling run down, let's just say coming down with a cold, what I do is I give my body time to rest. I don't do a hard workout. I may do a sauna because I'll artificially start to create that fever inside of my body. And I might just do something very light. I'll get to that in just a moment. But what I won't do are heavy meals, heavy foods, hard exercise, anything that would further drain my body of energy. That's the first thing to think about. So again, if you have a cold, virus, etc., you may want to think about a simple fast. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But at the same time, you don't want to fast for too long and weaken the state that you're already in. So there's this fine balance, and a lot of it is based on constitution. How strong is your body at that moment? All right, very specifically, there's two main diets that you want to look at when you have a cold flu virus. And a flu is a virus and a cold is basically a virus. And so we could just say virus, going forward. So there's something called the BRAT diet. I don't know if you've ever heard about this before. I've actually talked about it on the Cabral Concepts, but I wanted to expand on it today. So very briefly, the BRAT diet stands for, so it's just an acronym. It stands for bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. All right. Bananas, applesauce, rice, toast. That's it. Why? Well, there's specific reason for this. So it is used especially for anybody with nausea, with vomiting, or diarrhea. And why is this so important? Because these foods can help to bind up the stool so that you don't have loose stool to a greater degree. Bananas have always been known to help with that, especially not as ripe bananas. So less ripe bananas. Rice has always been known to help with binding. I want to share a pet remedy that we've used for my dogs. I've had dogs now for basically my whole life. What we use, applesauce is a little bit different. I wouldn't say it's as binding, but it's easy to digest, has a little bit of glucose if you're starting to go low blood sugar, but then again, all these other foods do as well. And toast is just something that Ayurvedic talks about. It doesn't have to be toast. It could be crackers. It could be anything like that, but it's not bread. It's actually toasted. It's crunchy. It's dry. It's airy. And here's why. So when you get more of the mucus, that's more of in Ayurvedic medicine, they call it a kapha-based disorder or kapha imbalance. So the wetness, the dampness, the mucus, you need to then do something at the same time that's a little bit more drying. And so dry crackers, dry toast, anything like that can enable you then to not necessarily soak up the dampness, but it's actually creating more dryness than in the body. This is a little bit more esoteric out there, but all of these things have been proven. I mean, this is a conventional medicine, believe it or not, diet that's been given over the years for the nausea, the upset stomach, the vomiting, and the diarrhea. Now, at the same time, if you do have nausea and you do have vomiting, your body may just need time to not consume any food. Always keep that in mind. Like, you're going to be okay if you don't eat for a day. I can't give you medical advice, but you're going to be okay. And a lot of people know this now because they've done my 1-day reset diet, or they've done the 7-day detox, the Equal Life detox that we do inside of our practice. Now, I did say I'd give you one pet-based formula before I moved on to a more advanced version of the diet. But what we've always used for my dogs over the years, whenever they've had loose or runny-based stool, is we've used pumpkin and white rice. That's it. So we just it just depends on the size of the dog, a couple tablespoons of pumpkin, just right out of the can if you'd like, organic pumpkin. And you just make rice inside. So basically, we cook white rice. It's not hot at all. You can just use room temp or add a little hot water to it when you're reheating it. Put it in their bowl. Not a lot of it. Again, we're not looking to add a lot of food. And then a tablespoon or two of pumpkin or more, depending on the size of your dog. But it's just supposed to be a small meal. And that helps bind them up a bit, not cause constipation, but actually slow down that loose stool. There are some people who use yogurt. So they'll use, and in Ayurvedic medicine, again, we recommend a sheep or goat-based yogurt, which is a little bit more heating rather than cooling. Cow's milk is more cooling for the body. You don't have to get too deep down the rabbit hole on this, but oftentimes that dairy in a yogurt form can be binding as well and start with loose stool. Now, on the other hand, I will say one of the reasons why most people don't recommend dairy when you do have loose stool or nausea is that it can cause loose stool in some people. So you have to know yourself, you have to know what it does for you, but you might be able to add yogurt to that list. Okay, so now I want to give you let's go a little bit deeper, because I don't use bananas or rice or applesauce or toast when I'm sick. So I just want you to share with that. I'm not against that. Sometimes with my daughters, there's some rice crackers, there's different things like that we may give them. But for them too, it's like, are you hungry? Yes or no? And if you're not hungry, we're not going to force feed you, because the body's not asking for food right now. Meaning if you put food in your body, then what needs to happen is that you need then to produce energy towards digestion. And that energy is then taken away from other, I would say, more important functions like your immune system fighting off a virus that's replicating. So if you're hungry, yes, because you might have low blood sugar, you might need to bring it up a little bit. But here's what I do. I'm using something very simple in the beginning. and use an electrolyte drink. So you can use your favorite electrolyte drink. Again, mine always goes back to this: lemons or limes, whatever you like. That's the potassium. And then sea salt. And I like Redmond sea salt. It's one of my favorites. It's very simple. It's very easy. I don't need to worry about the contaminations of plastics in the sea and all of these different things. Do I like Celtic sea salt? Yes, it's great. Do I like Himalayan sea salt? Yes, it's great. Whenever you get clean sources, they're fantastic. But I also like the micronized, easy form of Redmond. So I like that too. So all I do is just a pinch of that and the lemon limes, and because it also gives it some nice flavor. And then I just mix that up. Now for other people to bring their glucose up, a little raw honey, raw wildflower honey, or a little bit of Manuka honey. It's obviously Manuka honey in and of itself is fantastic. Now you can also heat that and you can make it into a warm, hot cup of lemon tea with a little bit of that Manuka honey. I recommend if you have a pour over tea kettle, which a lot of people do, you can just turn that up to 176 degrees. 176 degrees is that right temperature for green tea and for other types of tea, where you're not actually breaking down and destroying a lot of the natural nutrients that are in the tea-based leaves. I know we're not talking about tea leaves, but you also don't want to add raw honey to something boiling as well. So you go at a little bit lower of a temperature. Okay, so that's one option right there. You can just sip on that all day long. A nice hot cup of water. And Ayurvedic medicine, I remember way back in the day, I was like 22 years old, I probably wasn't studying Ayurveda until about 24 years old, 25. But I remember Deepak Chopra actually talking about, when you're not feeling well, sip hot water, just a couple sips of hot water every 15 minutes. And with this as well, you could add the sea salt, lemons, limes, or you could add that Manuka honey as well. So all of that's fantastic. That might be one thing. If I'm looking for a little bit more nourishment, I might move then down to green juices. Green juices, there's no fruit in it. There's nothing like that. It's literally just green juice. You can buy them pre-made. I've talked about the weekly juicery before. They're amazing. If you can't get it right away, because you don't know you're sick that day, right? You can obviously go to a Sprouts, a Whole Foods, a Fresh Market, like all these great places, and you can find a green juice there. And just look for the organic ones so you're not getting in those pesticides. Okay, so that's another option. You'll be getting in maybe just a little bit more calories there. And then the third option is going to be smoothies. And then I'm going to get to a couple more in just a second. But smoothies are one of my favorites because if you, again, not everybody, but if you're someone who wants a little bit more food, right, you can put in a plant-based protein, or if you don't get bothered by some of the other whey-based proteins, you might be okay to put a little bit of those in as well, which could help with IgG immune response, immunoglobulin response. So all of those would be totally fine, but not a lot. You just want a little bit if needed. So I'll just pop in a scoop or two of the daily nutritional support. So that's all my vitamins and minerals. So I definitely do that with some fruit if I'm not fasting, right? And the fruit could be anything that you'd like. But again, easy to digest: banana, blueberries, something very, very simple. And you can just sip on that for an hour. So don't chug it right away and overload your stomach. Just sip on it. Really, really, and just only as much as your body needs. That's really it. So super simple. People ask me all the time, what about bone broth? Yes, bone broth can be another good one. However, just keep in mind that it has more protein, right? So higher thermogenesis, higher breakdown of energy needed for breakdown. But the good news is bone broth is basically already in liquid form. So it's not as challenging for your body then to split those amino acid chains in the digestive base tract. So pretty easy as well. So you could certainly do bone broth as well, especially if you want to make a hot cup that feels good. Now, as you're nourishing your body back to health, you have all these simple to digest foods, right? So it's like initially you're just fasting, you're maybe doing your electrolytes or just water. Like water's okay as well. Herbal tea, all of those are great. Hibiscus tea is one of my favorites. Ginger tea is fantastic, especially when you have a cold. Okay, then we're moving to green juices or smoothies or bone broth, and then chicken soup. And the reason why I wanted to end with chicken soup is because everybody's been told it for hundreds of years, right? Chicken soup, chicken soup, chicken soup. But believe it or not, and I've done podcasts on this before, I'm happy to link those up today at stephencabral.com/2932 is today's show. You'll find all the big takeaways there. In the research, I have 3 research studies for you in chicken soup because, whenever you mention chicken soup, they're like, oh, you're just talking about things that have no science behind it. Everything we talk about, every single thing on the Cabral concept has scientific research behind it. Literally everything. Just because it's natural health doesn't mean it's not backed by science. Like that's the thing is like, yes, natural health is also backed by science. We just don't use pharmaceuticals. And it's not that I don't believe in pharmaceuticals. Well, in acute-based circumstance for life-saving conditions, yes, I believe in pharmaceuticals for sure, but not for chronic-based disease diseases. And also, keep in mind, I grew up taking antibiotics even for the common colds and viruses, and those only destroyed my gut and made my health worse because antibiotics are not going to help with the virus. It's just they're antibacterials, not antivirals. Just it doesn't even make sense. Now, I know doctors like to use them prophylactically because, the upper respiratory issues may lead to a sinus-based infection. Well, maybe, but not necessarily, especially if you're doing things like a neti pot and you're doing natural health things to get to it earlier. But if you're still eating the foods like I did as a child as well, we didn't know any better. So you get sick and you're eating mac and cheese and ice cream. Like, no, like these are not good foods for you and only going to create more inflammation. Chicken soup, why does it work? All right, well, I've got 3 studies I want to share with you. One is from the American College of Chest Physicians. Another one I pulled right from PubMed. And a third one is from the University of Nebraska Medical Center. All of them say that, okay, well, we know some about chicken soup, but we don't know all. However, we do know that it works. Interesting. So they point to, especially for upper respiratory issues. So this is, again, for ear, nose, throat, all those different types of things, chest colds. It improves neutrophils. So that's one right there, one of your white blood cells, type of white blood cell, I should say. And it helps as an anti-inflammatory and may help as an antiviral. So this was pretty fascinating. There's literally pretty much no downside unless you have food sensitivities to any of the celeries, carrots, onion, and chicken, and then broth that might be in your chicken soup. So just has to have the basics of chicken soup. And then the University of Nebraska went through different recipes and they found, no, it's not a special recipe. It's, putting in your typical vegetables, some chicken, if you can, a little bit of the bones, like a real good bone broth, and that can be really powerful as well. So hopefully today's show was helpful, a little bit of everything, but if you're suffering from colds or flu or viruses this winter or any time of the year, tune back into the show. Of course, share it with any friend that may be struggling right now. All of these things are simple, easy to access, and of course, also nice to have on hand if you ever need them. All the show notes will be at stephencabral.com/2932. And if you haven't already picked up a free copy of the Rain Barrel Effect, please do so. 5 years in print now, tens of thousands of copies purchased, and many, many more shared. So hopefully this has been helpful. Take care, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Cabral concept. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning into today's show. I appreciate you listening right to the end. I always try to share with you something that I believe that you're going to love. And this week, we are giving 20% off all gut-based protocols, all health gut-based protocols. That means if you've been thinking about using the CBO protocol to help improve your overall digestion or yeast or bacterial imbalances, this is the protocol for you. Or you might be looking at the daily probiotic support, the clean gut probiotic, or maybe something like the healthy gut support, which helps to heal and seal that intestinal-based wall. Whatever you're looking for, we have those 4 products plus many more on sale at 20% off. Very rarely do we do sales outside of our semi-annual sale. This is one not to miss. If you're dealing with bloating, gas, constipation, loose stool, etc., you can get to the underlying root cause, or you can begin to use these specific protocols that we've used with thousands of people all over the world. Head on over to stephencabral.com/shop for all the details.